Hey guys, today we're going to look at an AI voice agent for homeowner associations managers that acts as the first line of defense for incoming calls, saving them 80% of the most frequently asked questions. This is how the final agent looks like in Retell, which is a tool to build conversational flows built on state diagrams. And in the backend, it's powered by Airtable. Plus, it's powered by a RAG database on the real documents of the Homeowner Association's management company, which specify all the steps that have to be taken translated into the AI steps. This is part of a 30 AI agents in 30 days challenge, where every day for 30 days straight, I'm putting out a new AI agent in a new industry and in a new use case. And every time I'm sharing the complete AI agent down in the description below that you can import directly here into your retail dashboard and hit the ground running right away with all the prompts. Plus, I'm going to share all the links to all tools that I'm using in the description as well. So make sure you subscribe to this channel to not miss out on any of the agents that I'm putting out. In today's video, I'm going to walk you step by step, beginner friendly, on how I created this whole conversational flow, how I set up Airtable, how I connected it to the AI agent via tools, and how I loaded all these documents and configured the RAG knowledge base. I'm going to first call the AI agent on my phone to demo it to you so you can see what it says and we can follow it on the screen as well.
Hello, I'm Emily, the new AI agent at Next Operations Management. I'm still on probation, so I'm trying to be on my best behavior. Think of me as the friendly rookie here to help. You can press 0 anytime to talk to a human, but I'd love if you gave me a chance to assist you first. What can I help you with today?
Hey Emily, yeah, thanks for picking up. So I'm trying to figure out why my payment didn't go through.
I understand you're calling regarding your payment not going through. Thank you for bringing this to our attention. I'll help you get to the bottom of this. Now, to get started, I'll need to verify some details with you. Let me transition you to the authentication step. Before we proceed, may I have your full name for verification, please?
Yeah, sure. So my full name is Robert Hangu.
Thanks, Robert. Now, could you please tell me the name of the homeowner association or community you are part of?
Yeah, I'm part of Maple Grove Estate Association.
Great, Robert. Lastly, could you please provide your full property address? This will help me verify your information accurately.
Yeah, it's 234 Maple Grove.
Thanks, Robert. Just double check. Your full name is Robert Hongo. You belong to the Maple Grove Estate Association, and your property address is 234 Maple Grove. Is that all correct?
Yeah, that's true.
Thanks for confirming, Robert. I found your account under Maple Grove Estate Association at 234 Maple Grove Unit 7. Now, could you please tell me what issue you experienced when trying to make a payment? For example, did you get an error message or did the payment not go through? Just checking in, Robert. Did you see any error message or notice anything unusual when your payment didn't go through? I'm here to help get this sorted for you.
Sure. So the problem is that it's asking for a tenant code. That's what the error says.
Thanks for that info, Robert. When the system asks for a tenant code, you can actually use your account number as your tenant code. Your account number is 10012. Give that a try and see if it works. If you want, I can create a ticket for this issue to make sure it gets followed up on. Would you like to do that?
I've just tried it and it works. And yeah, please.
To recap, called about your payment not going through because the system was asking for a tenant code. I advised you to use your account number 10012 as the tenant code, and I'm glad to hear that worked. I've also created a ticket to document this for our records. Is there anything else I can assist you with today?
No, Emily, that's all for today. Thanks a lot then. Bye-bye.
Thanks for calling Next Operations Management. Have a wonderful day.
And it hung up. Now, if we look at the call logs database, we can see that it actually created a ticket for us. And we can see all the details here in the ticket. We can see that it linked to the correct record of my profile inside the database. It linked to the homeowner associations I'm part of. And it also created a concern field and an actions field with a summary. So it says payment issue, system asking for tenant code, and advised homeowner to use their account number, which is the correct account number. So now the homeowner association manager can come into this table and follow up with everything that has happened. Let's see how we've built this. We are going to start with the basics, with outlining the conversation flow here in this Miro board. Miro is a tool for drawing diagrams for everything you can think of. And we will have a look at the guidelines and the call script flows that are already in place with the property manager. So just as an example, I have two documents here, and we will want to map these steps into Miro, okay? So we see that it starts with an opening, it greets the caller, caller, then the homeowner will say something back like, I have a problem with this and that, or I want to know something about, what are the rules concerning the trash, or what are the rules concerning intercom, or whatever. Then the AI agent will acknowledge it. Then it will authenticate the caller by looking into the database. Then it will ask clarifying questions like, when did this issue start? Can you describe it in more detail, and so on. Then a resolution, how to solve this. Then do a quick recap to tell it, hey, this is what we've been talking about. And at that step, it also adds a ticket into the system to look at it later, and then a close. So we will map these steps into right. So we will start with the first step, which is basically the opening step. We'll call this opening. It transitions into step 2, which is AER, acknowledge, empathize, reassure. Then it will go into step 3, authentication. This is the part where it will have a look into the database. So we're adding a note here saying Airtable database. Then comes the step discovery, ask clarifying questions, which is step number 4. The questions of this step will come from the RAG database, which is basically the system that contains all this knowledge that I showed you here in these documents. So we will upload these docs there. Then there's the part with resolution community concerns. So these pertain to this particular document. So these also will be taken from the RAG database. So this is why I will connect them to the same step with the discovery, because they go hand in hand. The questions that are being asked and the resolutions that are being offered are both dependent on the RAG database. So I will just put number 4 and 5, discovery and resolution, into one step. Once the issue has been solved, there is a recap step where we'll be rereading everything back to the caller. This step doesn't require any database or anything, but in this case, we want to write back the Airtable database, because in this case, we want to add a ticket as in a call log, so that the property manager come back and look at what has happened and look at the question that has been asked together with the summary and all the steps. So in order to make this understandable, I will create an arrow here and point to the direction of the data. So the data here gets written into the database, and here in the RAG case, it's being read from the RAG database, and the same here with Airtable data. Now this is how our final workflow looks like, and we can see that all of these steps are the same for each of these questions that might come up from the homeowner. So they all follow the same format: opening, acknowledging and empathizing, authenticating the caller, resolution and research step, then a recap and a close. So these are all the steps, and then these connections here are those to the RAG database and to the Airtable data. So what we will do now is we will take these steps and map them into Retell, which has a very similar workflow. So we're going to go to retell.com, and if you haven't got an account yet, you click on join or login, and then once you've created an account, it loads, and this is how the dashboard looks. Here we're going to go on, click on create a voice agent. We will select multi-prompt agent, and we will click start from blank. This means that our agent is composed of multiple steps. That's why it's called multi-prompt. Single prompt means it has just one prompt, but problem there is that LLMs often hallucinate, and especially when calling tools, this can be difficult because sometimes it calls the tools and sometimes it doesn't. And these database connections here are tools, so it's important that it calls them correct. Now we click down here to edit prompt tree, and now we have a blank canvas. And our step here now is to recreate all of these steps that we have here into transition states of Retell. I just noticed that we're missing one step. We're missing the final end call step. This is where the AI agent will politely say goodbye and close call or hang up. And also I noticed that we can combine these two, opening and acknowledge and reassure, into the same step. The reason is that we will prompt the AI agent to go through these steps with the caller, so there's no need for an extra step. In general, the way we will pick these states is based on the amount of related operations that happen at that step, right? So why did we combine step 1 and 2, the opening and the acknowledge, emphasize, reassure? Because they go hand in hand. Once the calling homeowner greets the AI agent and says, hey, I have this and that problem, then right after that, the AI agent will say, yeah, I can understand it's difficult to whatever, right? But then the authentication is a different step because the questions are different. So it has to transition. So the AI agent here will ask the caller, may I have your full name and address, please, and the community association you belong, right? And then again, discovering and clarifying the questions and then the resolution also go hand in hand, because the AI agent will ask a question and then the homeowner will give some information and then the AI agent will offer advice on, okay? So we couldn't combine authentication and discovery one step, right? So early on in AI agent design, it's very important to logically think about the steps of conversation before going into a tool like Retell, for example, and starting to connect the bits and pieces together. So this is the essential part. Take a bit of time in the beginning, come up with the proper step, and usually they're already outlined documents have of processes that you are trying to automate, right? Because people before you have already operationalized them, right? Systemized them so that they come up with all these steps. And then your task is just to translate them back into the system. But very often in the beginning, it wasn't clear, or probably it was needed to merge these into more optimal states that combine different operationality together. Because if you do such a workflow manually, you don't have a tool connection this sense, right? You might look up a database manually, but in the case of AI agents, it's important that the tool be connected to exactly the step that needs it, and not anymore, not more tools than are necessary, because the AI agent might hallucinate, call the wrong tool, and then it's a mess. So minimalism is important in this sense, okay? Now let's go back and recreate this agent. So we have the first step, opening and AER. So this is exactly what we're going to call it. We click on new state, and you see it looks very similar to Miro. So I just named this opening and acknowledgement, and now I can prompt it. So I can say, okay, go. And this prompt will define the behavior of the AI agent at this particular step. So here I tell it everything that it needs to know in order to fulfill this first step. This is how I've prompted it. You will read the homeowner and acknowledge the reason call. And these are the steps. And I've numbered them 1, 2, 3, and so on. This is important. So the AI knows that these are steps and it has to follow them. First, greet the homeowner, say you're Emily, the AI agent, go back to the prompt. And the prompt that I will use will tell the AI agent what it has to do at this step. It's exactly like prompting ChatGPT, how you're already used to, but only focused on this first step. The prompt that I used here in the first step is you'll greet the homeowner and acknowledge the reason for their call. This is the overall goal. And then I will specify each step one by one in a numbered list, because the LLM needs to know that these are the steps it has to follow. The AI agent needs to know that it has to do all these steps. So the first is first greet the homeowner, say you're Emily, the AI agent management, say you're still in probation, make a little joke, say that you're an AI. Then step 2 is listen to what the homeowner says, then acknowledge their question by restate them what they had to do, restating to them what their problem is. And we see this here in the scripts, right? We have this discovery question, this acknowledgement state. I understand your query regarding a roof replacement. Thanks for reaching out. I will guide you through the next, right? So this is based on that. And then we will say, don't ask for the authentication details here. Instead, immediately go to the next step, which is calling this tool. So in Retell, the tools are called transition _to_, and then the state name. So in this case, the state name is the one that we specified up here. So now we will create a new state and name it in this way. We will name it to homeowner authentication. Okay. And then Retell will automatically name this transition function transition to own homeowner authentication. And then we will connect these two steps through this connect. So you see, it's very similar to a simple diagram. And now this edge connects the two and has a path condition. So when does this edge, and here, this is a placeholder, the condition that triggers transition. So here I can specify whatever I want, but what I'll do is I will just take the last line that I used here, which is I'm going to specify transition immediately after you've acknowledged the reason for their call in order to authenticate the call, okay? So that it knows that once it has acknowledged it and talked them through, it should go to the next step. Here I do the same thing. Again, I specify a goal, and when we go back to Miro, we'll see that in the second step, we need to authenticate the homeowner. Now this is connected to the Airtable database, but we will do this in a sec. I first want to lay out all of these steps to reflect everything we did in Miro, and then we will worry about all the nitty-gritty details of the database. Now, the way I prompted it is the following. You'll authenticate the details from homeowner who's calling, check them against the data import. And then I specify the steps it will go. The number 1 is the data gather. The data will gather it, full name, homeowner community association address. And the way it will do this is you will ask it that one by one, each of these pieces of, okay? So here I say, don't just ask, hey, give me everything. Say first, what's your name? Second, do this. Third, what's your address? And then once the information is gathered, it will read it back to the homeowner to make sure there was no mistake. Number 2, after the information was collected, it has to be checked against the data. So here it will use these tools that I specify the name here. We will implement a second. And then lastly, the approach. It will first collect the data, then double check against the database. And if it has identified the correct homeowner, continue. If not, it will ask again to make sure it has found. And then once it's done, it will call the transition tool, where it will collect all the necessary information. Now I will go ahead and fill in all of this graph and then explain each step separately. Now here's the complete graph, and if we look at it, it has 5 states and the same as the Miro, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now let's walk through each of them. We've already seen the second one. Now the third one will be issue discovery and resolution. Here I will instruct it to gather the details of the issue and to provide a resolution as outlined in that specific document. So I make a reference to the RAG data database that it will have access to in a bit when we connect it to. So I'll say it use the questions under discovery and the clarifying steps. And then once the information is gathered, it will follow to the next step of the resolution. Now, you don't have to write any of this down. I will share the complete AI agent JSON format that you can directly import into Retell together with all the links of the tools that I'm using. So you can download it there and import it and hit the ground running, just adjust it to your steps and you already have a working agent. And now if we look at the next step, it's the recap step. It's basically the step where it says, okay, this is what happened, this is what we talked about, and this is what I'm going to say in the prompt. Your goal, you have to recap everything that's been discussed and call a ticket, create a ticket. I'll say summarize the conversation back to the caller, create a ticket, and then once the ticket was created, ask the caller if there's anything else you can help them with. And if the caller mentions they have another issue or topic, you will transition to the step 3 again. So we see that here we have 2 edges, one going from 3 to 4 and one going from 4 to 3, because maybe the homeowner has asked about water shut-off request and then they also have a problem with payment. Maybe payment didn't go through or they want to know some extra information. Now it's important that you collect all of this data, and for each of that data you have a separate intake. Now there is one more special thing I want to show you. Between step 2 and 3 there is this edge, and this is the edge that goes from homeowner authentication, issue discovery, and here Retell has this nice thing where I can specify the variables that can capture. So Retell will store these details into specific variables that I can then use in other prompts, okay? And the format that I see here is basically called a JSON object specifier. And the quickest way you get this is you can generate it with chat. So you go to the OpenAI playground, which is called platform.openai.com/playground/prompts. And here you can test the API, but it has a nice functionality up here. So you click the tool configuration and then you click on text format and then you choose JSON schema. Now here it has this nice functionality to generate a JSON schema. So here I describe what I want the model to respond. So for example, I just say name John Doe, right? This is a very basic JSON and I click create. And now it will generate a schema that responds to that, right? And it's the whole thing. And it says, okay, its name is a person name, properties, and everything about the property. And now you just copy this code here from schema back into Retell into this thing. And after this step, it will save these details into these particular variables. And I will show you why I needed this. I needed this because when I come from the recap step to the issue and discovery step again, in case the homeowner has a different issue they want to discuss, the LLM would try to prompt me again and ask the homeowner about their details. So in this case, I already mentioned them over here at the bottom. This is in the recap step. So I can see here that I said, okay, you don't have to ask them again for authentication. This is their name. And then I specify it in double accolade. This means I'm reading this variable. So if homeowner full name was John Doe, at the time that this LLM runs, Retell will replace homeowner full name with John Doe. And so will it with the homeowner community, homeowner address, and so on. So this is very handy. Plus, you can access this data later on in the APIs and you can do whatever you want with it. You can post it to a webhook in N8N or any other automation that you might use. Now, I won't go into those details over here in this video. This is a beginner's walkthrough, so I will just focus on these steps. So now the workflow is done. We've mapped everything that is here in Miro. The last thing we have to do is over here, we have to connect these tools to the Retell. So the first one is the Airtable database. For this, we will go to airtable.com. Quick intro, Airtable is similar to Google Sheets, but a bit more sophisticated. It has a bit more automations. I will show you in a second, and it's easier to use. Now, this is the dashboard, and we will click on create, and here we will build an app on your own. And this is how it looks like. Here I can set a name for it, and then here on the left, it has an AI agent that we'll ignore for a second. We will use it a bit, and you see it looks very much like Google Sheets. It has columns, it has the cells, and I can write stuff into it, John Doe, some notes, and so on. Now, what I now want to do is I want to map the data that I require over here into this table. So I have to think, okay, what data do I need, for example, for location? And so I'm going to just put a note here, and I will have something like full name, address. I need the Homeowner Association, their part. I need more and more details. So I've already prepared this data in advance, and I will show you how to put it in. I've already come up with the columns that we take, and I've written them in Markdown format because we will use them to prompt Airtable's AI agent to create for us, so we save a little bit of time. So the first table is called community lists, right? This is a directory with all of the communities that Homeowners Association management manage. So it has community ID, ID, community name, start date, end date, and all of these. The second one is the homeowners. So everybody that is a member of any of these communities. So it has a name, phone, mail, home address, and so on. And then it has the table call logs that are actually the logs that are going to be saved by the AI agent after the call has ended. It has the name of the homeowner, the concern, the actions that were taken and that the AI agent suggested, account number, and so on. And this is the type of it. Now, how do I use these prompts? Here in Airtable, I have on the left side this little thing, Open Omni with AI. So I just copy everything in this file and paste it as a prompt. And I will let it create the tables form. This is again very practical because I don't have to click on add over here to add every single column and name it and so on like this. It's enough for me to just come up with the broad high-level structure of the database or the database schema and just prompt it to generate. And you can go one step further with your imagination, go to ChatGPT and have ChatGPT create such a list for you. So you can ask ChatGPT, hey, how can I create a database schema for a homeowners association management, especially one where I can store call logs, all this information that then ChatGPT will come up with. And then you can just come to Airtable, paste, or you can directly go with that. But I recommend going with ChatGPT first because maybe you end up not some of these fields and it's just easy. So this is how the final result looked like. I also prompted to fill in some data, but essentially here we have a table of all the homeowner associations that are managing. Then we have a table of homeowners that are all here. And then finally a few sample calls. Now I will clear this list just for brevity. I will remove most calls. Okay. So once Airtable is set up, we have connected to the AI. How do we do? So the first tool where we're going to need this is in the homeowner authentication step. So Retell has this nice option here called tool. So I click on add, and then the tool that I need is going to be called custom. So here I specify a few details about how Retell reaches at. So it has a name. So let's put a name that's easy for the AI. We're going to call it get homeowners, and then we will describe it to the AI what it does so that the AI knows when called. So I'll say get the list of all homeowners that live in an association, us, and so on. And now this is the interesting API end. So I need a get request. What is a get request? I will tell you in a second. There's get request, post request, and obviously a few others, but for our purposes, the two. Get means I read data from Airtable. Post means I write data to Airtable. For example, I create a ticket, as we'll see in a bit. Where do I get this info from? I need to have a look at Airtable's documentation, which is here. I click on this question mark button here, and then I click down here, and then I click on API document. And now this API documentation is generated automatically on the spot based on my tables. And I can see this here on the left, shows me exactly my table. So it's not a generic documentation. And now I click on the homeowners table because here I want to read data from it. And here I go to the list records. And we can see that this is a get request, the same that I said earlier. And we are interested in this string here. This is the connect up to the question mark. Everything else is a query string, which we won't get into, but the API connection string is everything up on there. And I copy it and I go back to Retell, and I've already pasted this here. So this is the exact same string. And then we need to go to headers, and you click new key value pair, and we need the authorization. Means we need to tell OpenAI that it's us. It's like password. And then it's called bearer and then a code. So then this code is from AI this is the API key, and I get this by going back to my Airtable table. I click my profile pic down here and I click on count. Now here there's this button, go to developer hub. I click it, and then here API key, create token. I click there, and now I have the possibility to create a new token. See up here, I click button create token, and then here I have to specify the name of token, the scopes, which will be data read and data write, and then I create token. But since I already have a token, I will use this inside the tool here, right? So this is already done, and this is it. I click save, and now I'm connected to the Airtable API via this tool get homeowners. That's okay. And by the way, I've also specified this here via the prompt where I said these tools are, and I specified get homeowners, and now I'm going to do a new tool, get communities and associations, where I'm going to do exactly the same thing. I will create a custom function. I will name it like this, copy all the details over the connection string as I did earlier, and then I click save, and now I'm connected to also the homeowners table. Getting back to Miro for a second, the other point where I need Airtable is in the recap step where I will post. So I will create a log of this call, right? So let's go to the recap step here, and here I will create 3 tools, right? Because I want to get the homeowners, I want to get the tickets, and I want to create why is that. If I go to the call logs, I see that there is this RFA call, base request for action, so an ID, and I want to get the highest number, add 1 onto it to get the current number of the current RFA. And I need also the community lists and homeowners because this call is linked both, as you can see here. So a link in Airtable is like a lookup, like VLOOKUP in Google. So it opens up the record without me having to go there and open it in the specific table. Now, as you see, I've already added the get homeowner and get tickets tool as I've shown earlier. And now the last tool I will add is the add tickets tool, create tickets. And this will be a post, okay, because I will create some, and I will go back to the API documentation and I will go to the tickets table, which is called call logs. And here on the left, I will click on create records, and we'll see that it specifies this is a post request endpoint. So the end is the next string. So again, I just copy everything I see here and I add it. So post to this. Again, I specify the headers, and now comes the import. Here, I will need to add how the JSON body look like. And I can see this in the documentation over here. Here it gives me an example of how this will look like, and I will have to adhere it. So I do this, and again, I need to specify a JSON schema. It says enter JSON schema here. So again, I go to the OpenAI trick, I click generate, and then I paste this whole JSON object here, and I click generate. And now the OpenAI playground, which uses ChatGPT in the backend, it will generate this whole thing. It's very, very practical because I can just copy everything that is here in schema and paste it into here. This. All right, then one more thing, I have to select payload arg only. So that means it's an internal implementation thing that basically means that the LLM will send only the data to the Airtable API and it will not send a function call. Don't worry about this, just select this and you'll be fine. So I click save. Let's go back to Miro to see if we've got everything covered. There is one more thing we need to do. This is the RAG database. And then we're all set. So RAG stands for Retrieval Augmented Generation. So I'll click save here. And now I go here to knowledge base. I click on knowledge base and it doesn't have a knowledge base yet. So I add, and then I create add new knowledge base. And now it takes me to the Retell dashboard in the section where the knowledge bases are specified. And here I will add a new knowledge base via plus, and I click to choose a name. So I will call this Homeowner Association Management, and I click add, and here I upload files from my, what I'll do. And I've selected these two documents that I shared with you earlier, the one about billing and web concerns and the community. So basically these questions. And we will later on in the demo use this to test the system and see if the answers are correct. Once that's done, I click save. Now it is done processing and I can see the documents here. I'll go back agents. I select my last agent, the one that I'm editing, and I go back to the knowledge base and I click add, and then I select this Homeowner Association Manager. Now it's here and I click save. It already saves it. Now I select the model. Let's go with GPT-4o mini. I'll stay with the default voice, and the last thing that I need is a system prompt. Now the system prompt, you might know it from ChatGPT, is the governing prompt for the whole process. This is the system. This is the prompt that goes right in the beginning for every conversation. You don't see this in the conversational state transitions that we have here in this view, but this governs the tone of the agent, its identity, its guardrails, what it is allowed to say and what not. I've already prepared this for you to save some time. Now I'm going to quickly walk you through this. The first step is the identity. You're Emily, a friendly knowledge like front desk agent of this company. Your job is to listen to questions, speak how to speak, and all of these things. Okay, you have access to this by downloading the complete AI voice agent. In the description below there's a link. You import it directly into Retell, so you don't have to note this down. You can analyze this prompt and then mold your own prompts around that. But I'm going to quickly jump over the high level. Then the style guardrails, very important, how they speak, how the AI agent formulates the answer to be to the point. Then the response guideline, how it should formulate follow-up questions, always say what's going to happen next, and so on. Rebuttals, very important. What happens if the homeowner is frustrated? What happens if the homeowner wants to ask something outside of scope, and so on. And then finally, some notes on tool calling and information management. I say, okay, you will not make up or invent anything. Everything you know should be out of the RAG database, and then ultimately an extra subsection for the RAG database, which tells it how to use it. Now we save this, and one last thing, the welcome message should be that AI speaks first, and we're going to use a dynamic message here, so we will let the LLM come up with its own message because we've prompted it here in the first step in opening, and we say you will read the homeowner and acknowledge the recall, and then you'll say you're Emily, the AI agent, and so on and so forth. All right, all is set. Now let's test the AI agent. There are two ways of testing. I can either test it via audio or via a test chat. And in the beginning, I want to do a test chat. because it also saves time and money because voice synthesizer is not functioning, is not working. And then I can also see all the steps it goes through, and I will show it to you right. All right, I will just reorder this here visual follow, and I will click manual chat, and then it starts with the AI agent. Okay, and it will say, hello, you reached Emily, blah, blah, blah. How can I help you today? So we're going to have a look at a concern because this is what we are here to test today. And let's say we want to ask about a web payment issue. Okay, so let's just say the system asks for a tenant code, okay, just for the sake of simplicity. So I'm going to go back and say, hi, Emily, I've got a payment. So now we can see that it transitioned to the next step. Okay, so this is a tool inside Retell. Retell treats these state transitions as if they were actual tool. Okay, probably on the inside, it will just trigger copy pasting these prompts that I put into each state so that the LLM knows exactly how it responds at each step. And now it says, okay, I understand you're calling for this and that. I'll help you with that. Now to get started, I need some details. So now it will authenticate. So what's your full name? So I will say my name. Then it will ask me about the homeowner association that I'm with. So I'm at Maple Grove. And then it will ask me about my full home address. So it's 234 Maple Grove. We see that at each step, it retrieves information from the knowledge base, even though this is not port now, but it was in the very first step over here where I said, okay, this problem, I got problem payment. So then I click here and then it shows me the document that it was exactly the right document, 101 billing and web. So it will fetch information from there, which is good. But then in the next steps, it actually doesn't need it, but it still does so. So when you configure such a system with a RAG knowledge database, it will always look for information that it might find there and always check against the query that you ask it in order to see, okay, does it need it or not? This is just how these systems work. Now I give it my home address and now it should check it against the data. And we see that it did so. So it invoked the tool get homeowners. We can see the tool results. So it will get homeowners from here. And then it will get the communities and association again with this tool. And this is the tool result. So all looks good. And then just to confirm, and it has found my complete address is also unit 7, which I haven't specified. Now go back Airtable. We can see it over here in my address that it's also unit 7. So the connection works with good. Now I will just say yes, it's correct. And we can also visually see each stages that it goes, right? So we can see here. Now it goes into step issue discovery. And now it asks me, what is the error message? And again, it retrieves knowledge from the database. Very good. And we can double check, correct. It asks me, are you seeing any error message or something else? I look at the document. The protocol is exactly this. What issue are you experiencing? What is the error message? Which is very good because I wanted to follow the steps of protocol. It does. So now I will say the error says it's asking for a tenant code. Now let's see if it follows the protocol. It says when the system asks for a tenant code, you can use your account number as your code. Your account number is this. Give it a try. Let's have a look at the account number is correct. I go again here in the Airtable and I see, okay, this is the account. Looks good. Has it followed the protocol? Let's check. The protocol says if the homeowner is asking for tenant code, in this case, you can use your account number as your tenant, which is good. So it follows the steps that are in the RAG data. Important thing here, we can see that we can expand the scope of this diagram here slightly, let's say, inside of each step, depending of the RAG date, okay? So if I have the broad step that is called issue discovery and resolution, it means that it looks up the steps in the database, and while it is in this state, it will follow the protocol that is over. This is very important. Now it asks me if it works, and I will say, yes, it works. And what it will do now, it has transitioned to the next step, recap, which is this one. And now it will tell me exactly what has happened. Hey, sounds like your payment is backtracked, no tenant code and so on. Is there anything else I can help? And I say, no, that's it, thanks. And then what it will do, it will transition to the last step called closing. And in this step, we can see all the tool invocations here and then the transition close. So now if we look at the database, we can see that there's a ticket created here with my name, which is correctly linked to my profile, which is in the homeowner section. And it has created a concern, payment issue system as tenant code, actions, advise homeowner to use account number, which resolve the issue. Now I can also test this via test audio, which is nothing else than the demo that I showed you in the beginning, but I can test it before I connect numbers. So just for the sake of demo, look, this is what's happening.
Hello, you've reached Emily, the new AI agent at Next Operations Management. I'm still on probation, so be gentle. I'm learning the ropes. If at any point you want to chat with a human instead, just press 0. But hey, give me a shot first. I'm here.
Now you see that it's exactly the same thing, and I can talk into it. Now you can see that it actually writes everything down that I'm saying. My mic is on, so you can see it's here. So it's pretty fun to chat with it in this sense, right? And it's the same thing as connecting my phone. So I'm going to call end call, and now I'm going to show you how to connect phone number. You first need to publish your AI agent before you can use via phone. So the way you do this, you click here on the top right button called publish. A version name you can leave empty, and then you select phone number. So here I've already connected phone numbers. Okay, this is a bit beyond the scope of this tutorial. You can find lots of videos on YouTube. You can just search for connect Twilio number with Retell. It will give you a step-by-step guide. But here we will just select the inbound phone number. So we will choose this one here. And then the outbound phone number, we will this. And then I click publish. And now I can reach the AI agent via phone. So I'll just call this number and then it will go. Or if you wish to use just the text functionality, you can click this three dots here and click convert chat agent. But again, this is beyond the scope of this video. So here's a quick recap of what we saw today. We've built an AI voice agent that is the first line of defense for homeowner association managers and answers 80% of the most common questions that homeowners ask. This AI agent is based on conversation flows that were already in place at the Homeowner Association management company. And the first step we did, we ideated these steps inside of Miro, which is a diagram tool. And we extracted these steps from these documents. And then we saw which one of them can go together. For example, step 1 and 2 can go together, and step 3 and 4 can go together. We also thought about which data which databases connect. So Airtable database, where all the information about Homeowner Association tenants is in, and the homeowners, and then the RAG database that contains these scripts and specific information. Then we went to Retell, which is a voice flow diagramming tool, and we mapped all of these steps into the conversation flow. And we prompted each step exactly how the AI agents should behave in that step, including the transitions for each. We also connected the corresponding steps that needed additional information to the tools, in this case Airtable. And we configured Airtable with a sample data set of community lists, homeowners, and call log. Once the call ends, the AI agent logs a ticket here with everything that happened during the call, such as also certain actions that were taken that are linked to the particular homeowner. We had a look at the Airtable API, where we found all of the connection string and how to connect the tools to Airtable. And then finally, we created a RAG database, which is the place where all the knowledge of the AI agent resides by uploading these PDF files from our local storage. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe to my channel. I'm doing a 30 AI agents in 30 days challenge, where every day I create a new AI agent in a different industry and for a different use. And for today's agent, you find the complete link in the description below, together with links all the documents that we've used to create it. I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.